Welcome back, guys, to an episode of RK Outdoors. In the previous video, I mentioned doing a review on the fish finder that I use. We don't only use this in the summertime, but we also use it for ice fishing as well. What I have here in front of me is a Garmin Striker 4 Plus, and I'm going to go into a little bit in-depth review about this unit and why I think it's kind of a great entry-level fish finder, whether you're ice fishing or fishing on open water in the summertime as well. So one of the main reasons why I bought this unit was because last summer we bought a little 10-foot pontoon. It's called a pond crawler. They're pretty popular, sold at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops and places like that. But we needed a depth finder. It flooded a lot last year here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and we were going into some pretty shallow waters, but also some places that were pretty deep. And I thought with having a new boat, it'd be nice to kind of know when it's getting shallower and when it's getting deeper. Kind of in my research and also watching YouTube videos, I did see a lot of videos on this, but not really in depth how to use it or kind of the pros and cons of it, because although it is a great unit, there are definitely some cons. Not going to get on some of the bigger, more expensive units that are available out there on the market. So I guess without further ado, I'll get into it. The reason I went with this unit specifically, there are multiple different kind of, models of this same exact unit here. But the Garmin Striker 4 was kind of, at the time, what I was in the general area of what I wanted to spend, but kind of gave me the most bang for my buck. I like that it's a pretty small little thing. Ours we have just mounted to like a plastic ammo box, and inside of there is where our battery is. It's a pretty simple setup. Battery goes right there. We have a little piece of foam that kind of holds the battery in place, and we can just open it up and plug the charger into it to charge the battery. I am yet to go through an entire battery in a day. It takes little to no power. It's just a small 12 volt, those little batteries you put in like a kid's ATV or like a lawnmower type battery. They're pretty common. I believe that one's like a 12 amp hour battery. I've been fishing for 14 hours before, and it hasn't even budged. Kind of leads into one of the biggest reasons is I like the portability of this unit. I can put it on the boat in the summertime, and in the wintertime use it to ice fish. Now we did upgrade ours a little bit, and we did buy the pyramid style transducer for ice fishing, but on the boat that we have, I do have the transducer that comes with it, which is kind of your everyday common transducer. It works great. It mounts right onto our trolling motor, and so at the end of the day I just unplug it from the back of the unit, and we're back to just this kind of ammo can, I guess, set up to take inside and charge the battery and all that. So when you buy this Striker 4 Plus fish finder, you'll get the actual unit itself. You'll get the dual beam transducer. This transducer is the ice fishing one. You can buy an ice fishing bundle, I know. I don't believe it comes with that transducer though. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But the transducer for the ice fishing is like another $100. You might be able to find it on sale for a little cheaper. It does come with like a power data cable. It does come with the mount that I have on here. It's just a simple tilt and swivel mount. You can move it around however you'd like. I generally just keep it like this. Seems to balance the best on it. Pretty simple setup from the get-go. You just plug it in and hook up the transducer, whichever you're using, and drop it in the water, and it's good to go. So I'll turn this thing on for you. Just one small little power button there on the bottom. You might be able to hear the transducer going off here because I do have it plugged in. So as soon as you turn it on, you're going to be met with this main screen here. You kind of have multiple options in here. The first one on top here is the traditional sonar. A lot of times I run the chirp function on here. Chirp is just a software that Garmin makes. It kind of makes the frequency a little bit better. Oh, I have this all wrapped up in here. Holy man. So the traditional function is usually what I'm using most of the time. In the summertime, we use it to, one, check the the depth of the water. It will say up here, depth of the water. It will tell you how far you've driven if you want to mark that. The voltage of your battery, and I have it set for the time. I know you can set it that when you have the other transducer on, you can have it so it'll tell you the temperature of the water as well, which is nice to know while you're fishing. Obviously, when there's ice on the water, not so important, so I don't have that function up here right now. You will see on this side, there's kind of this little split screen here. This is what's called A-scope. It's a function on here that I like to use while ice fishing. Although this unit does have a flasher, which I will use, which I do use, and will show you. It's not what I think the nicest flasher ever, so I do like to use this A-scope function. It seems to work a lot better, and you have seen in a couple of my videos that I have been plenty capable of catching fish while using it. This function does work pretty well, but while you're ice fishing, some guys kind of like the more traditional flasher style of the fish finder. I do like that sometimes, depending on how deep of water I'm fishing. But what I've noticed with this, that when you get towards the bottom here, it does kind of get hung up for some reason, and I don't know why that is. And so that's kind of why I've enjoyed using just the traditional with the A-scope. Seems to work the most efficiently, and you can kind of see generally what's in the area as well, and this will show you what's directly beneath you. Next one underneath the flasher is going to be a split frequency. So you'll see here there's kind of two screens with the A-scope. It does allow you to go in here and change what frequency you want to use. So on this unit, right now it's giving me options for 200 hertz, but also the chirp function. It will also allow you to change the beam width as well. So you can change how wide that beam is projecting out, which is nice to do. It'll kind of give you that dual function on here. And so you can see it'll give you two options. Standard is 200 hertz. You can change it up and down from there. I think I actually did because it's 199, it says. And they'll give you the chirp function as well. I haven't used this as much just because I haven't really had a use for it. I think that chirp function has worked nicely for me for finding fish both in the summer but also in the winter. What I do like about this unit is that although it is a small unit, it is pretty mighty. Like I said, you can pick what your range is in it. You can also go down here to gain, and you can either have it auto setting high, medium, low, but you can also really fine tune it as well, depending on what kind of waters you're fishing in, especially for ice fishing. When you're trying to get some of that disturbance out of your screen, you can crank this thing up all the way up if you want, or you can crank it all the way down to kind of get rid of some of that disturbance. The zoom feature on here, you have no zoom, on, off, split zoom. I can just keep it off. I haven't had a use for it. On here, it'll tell you kind of those overlay numbers that you can put on there. I have most of them on here. The compass I have off most of the time. Like I said, I'm fishing, usually aren't that big, and I don't need to know which direction I'm going. Put the other transducer in, it will give you the option to put the temperature as well. Lastly in the setup is kind of your sonar setup. You can put a lot of different things in here. So you can do depth line, how fast the scroll is on it. I have the ultra. You can change the appearance of it, so you can change the color of everything if you want. You can classic white if you wanted to. You can do, what other ones they got in here? Maroon, red, orange, red, kind of whatever you like. I generally like the blue. I think it looks nice. I've also really liked the classic blue. I think I had it on before. So I think there's colors, water's blue generally. So another big function of this is the quick draw map. Right now it's not gonna allow me to do too much because I'm not on a body of water. This unit does have GPS in it. The quick draw map, what it will allow you to do is go ahead and do contour maps while you're on the lake. What that means is that you can, while you're on here and you're fishing, it will tell you exactly the depth of that water, and it will map it out on a screen for you. So here's one from when last summer I had. It'll show that the water temp was 76 degrees. We drove 3.6 miles. And when I go back to that lake next time, it will show up on here like it's a map. Although I like this feature, I do think it's kind of a downfall a little bit because there's no option to put like a lake chip in it. I think that'd be kind of nice if they would do that, but I don't think Garmin is going to stick that kind of money into kind of a budget style fish finder. So with that, you can also put a split screen for the quick draw map and also your fish finder there. I don't use this often. I generally now, especially with like Onyx Fish and the Garmin Navionics app, this is kind of useless a little bit, I believe. So I don't see myself using this ever. I think there'd probably be a use for it if someone was like maybe in a kayak, something like that, and you kind of wanted to mark points. But I think some of those apps that are out now, that's kind of an obsolete option. Lastly, one of the big things I'd like in here is there's an option for user data. So with this unit here, sometimes I'm out using it, sometimes my son is out using it. And it's kind of nice because we can kind of manage whose points are which. We've used it a couple times, but we haven't used it a whole lot. So I think we have 4 waypoints of 5,000 used. So you can, we've barely used it, but it will be nice once he gets out using it more. We start actually marking stuff on here. Like I said, we got that bow at the end of last summer, so we got it out, a dozen times I think before the end of the summer. So I think this summer when we're out, we'll be able to kind of utilize that option a lot more. For us, it's just a lot of traditional fish marking, using the fish finder for ice fishing and things like that. Lastly, you get your settings here. There's a ton of settings you can change in here. So with system settings, you can go into display, you can do backlight. The backlight is actually pretty good in here. I've been out fishing in the sunniest days and been able to see the screen on here, no problem. I know some other videos have said that there's some complaints about it. I haven't had any complaints about it. I know they make this little thing that you can put over here as a cover to kind of do it, but I mean, even right now I'm recording this and you can see it pretty clearly. Another option which I like on here, especially in the summertime, is that there's these beeper sounds. And I have it marked for alarms only, which I'll get into, but there's different things that the unit itself will beep when you have it set to do those things, such as fish, low water depth, things like that. Go in the GPS option here, you can go into different GPS options. As you can see, it will calibrate itself and kind of tell you where it's at. You can change the speed of the filter. It's pretty simple GPS. I wouldn't say it's gonna get you on lost, to say the least. There's an option for auto power on and off. I keep it off. I like to kind of have control of this. I don't see a reason why you would need to have it on because it's just a simple press of a button and it'd be done. Basic stuff like English language, change language to whatever language you'd like. There's a bunch of them. Reset the factory settings, stuff like that. Simulator, which is like your demo mode. Obviously you have that off right now. Also settings for like your vessel. So this is where you change your transducer type. So when I go back to summer fishing, I'm going to have to go in here and change whatever transducer I'm using. As you can see right here, these are all the transducers that you're able to use on this unit, which is pretty nice, I think. Right now we're going to stay with the GT8HW because that's the one that we have right now. It's just the model number. So here's the things for alarms. You go to navigation. You can set an alarm for when you met your destination. You can set where you put your anchor down. If you go off course, the system will beep at you to kind of get your attention. There's an alarm clock function. I can't say I've ever used that. There's also ones for the device voltage and also if your GPS is not being accurate. Lastly, for alarms, I think this is where you're going to use it the most, is in the sonar alarms. So as you can see here, you can have your shallow water. Right now it's off because it has the ice fishing thing. Deep water, water temp, and fish. And in the fish one, it's going to give you options. And it's kind of like your, I guess you could say, gain for how big the fish are. Generally, when I'm using this, I'm going to keep it the lowest setting. And what's going to happen is on your traditional screen there, it's going to pop up little fish marks. and it will show the size of it. If it's a big one like that, it's gonna be a bigger fish. If it's one like that, it's gonna be a medium-sized fish. If it's little tiny ones like this, you're gonna see this will be like your smaller panfish or something like that. Also in the settings, you can change your units. I'm not gonna mess around with this because I don't want to mess anything up. But it comes just kind of your general US units in here. So the only thing I think I really had to change in here was I like a 24-hour time format. So I changed that. I know when I just opened this thing up, and also my time zone, which I'm in the Central Time Zone. So you can change that. It will also adjust it for daylight savings, things like that. Lastly, it's your navigation settings. You can change labels, you can hide them, show them, whatever you want to do. Turn transition activation. You can do it by distance or time. I have it by time. And same with the turn transition time. You do a 15-second warning basically. And then route start, you can change it for waypoint or by the boat moving. Also, very last thing in here, it'll give you a thing to customize the home screen. I don't think we can add anything really. You can change the combos, things like that, but I generally just keep it on here. It's what it came like when I got it, and I haven't felt the need to change anything. So who would I suggest this fish finder to? I think if you're just getting into fishing, or you don't want to kind of break the bank on a new hobby, I think this is a great fish finder. I do think that there are some better ones for a little bit more money. I think the big thing for me on this is if it had a lake chip option on it, you could put a chip in and have, you know, all the lake contours. That would be super, super nice. I don't necessarily like that you have to like drive around to map out the lakes that you're going on to. With that being said, I think for the price, I think for everything that I have right here, I think the unit itself was like 160. The extra transducer for ice fishing was like $100. You know, you can find these cheap plastic ammo cans at Walmart for $10, and a battery like the have is maybe $20. You know, for $200, maybe just a little bit over, $250, I would say, with the transducer and all that. I think it's a pretty good unit. I think it's really user friendly. There's no really learning curves with it of any sort. It's pretty just straightforward, user friendly, and overall a pretty decent unit. I think if you're looking to do some more in-depth fishing with it, I don't think it's what you're going to be looking for. This is going to be for someone like myself who has 1,000,001 hobbies, doesn't want to break the bank, but just wants to be able to fish more efficiently. I do think though that over time I will definitely upgrade this. I know in the Garmin Striker series they also make like a 7 and a 9-inch one too that's a little more horizontal this way, and I think a little bigger screen would be nice. But for right now, this thing, I've caught a ton of fish using this already, and I don't have to feel guilty if it breaks because it's just not that expensive. You're not going out spending $3,000 on like a Navionics system, something like that. So I know there's a lot of hype around this unit. The Striker 4 was very, very popular when it came out, and I still believe it is. My biggest thing is that get what you want. Don't try to fall into the fad. I would love to have the Garmin Navionics and be able to have live scope and all that stuff, trust me. But my big thing is this is going to get you out there. It's going to get you fishing. It's going to be able to allow you to find more fish, at least be able to see the trends of like, hey, where are fish, you know, at certain times of the year, what's the temperature, and you can be able to mark it down on your own or mark it on the quick draw map here and hopefully catch more fish. And I'm all about that. Well, I hope that this review was helpful to some people. I try to be as honest as possible. It's not the best top of the line unit that you can buy, but if you're looking for something that's going to get you out there and be able to catch fish, you'll definitely do that. But it's not going to tell you where the fish are. With that being said, hope you guys all enjoyed this review. And as always, have fun in the outdoors.